Greetings, I'm Tracy Butler, and this is Module 5 of my capstone. Module 5 moves the NITAE framework from strategic architecture to fiscal reality. The neurobiological case has been made, and the equity argument is documented. What this module addresses is a question every superintendent will ask before authorizing a single new role. What does this cost? Where does the money come from? And can this district sustain it? Those are the conditions under which evidence-based frameworks get implemented or get filed away. This module attempts to take it seriously in an environment that is really not supportive of public education. The year one pilot budget is for an 8 school K through 5 district is slightly above $1.6 million. That figure is site specific as it reflects the Chapel Hill Carborough School District, which currently has a total of 11 elementary schools. However, there are 3 that are scheduled to close that were deliberately excluded, as there's no sense in building a pilot at a school that is set to close in the 2027-2028 school year. The largest line items are the licensed school psychologist team at slightly over $470,000 a year, which is their base salary, and a 30% benefits load. These are not contracted consultants, and that's important. They are district employees working with a tier 2 specialist team daily. The specialists are budgeted at $336,000 a year, including 4 full-time positions at $70,000 a year. The NITAE district coordinator carries the overall operational infrastructure at $75,000, and the administrative support is fully staffed at $65,000 a year. This isn't generosity, it is a retention strategy. It's important to keep people who can produce valid outcome data. The primary funding source for this is IDA Part B, a federal entitlement administered through the state, which is more insulated from the General Assembly's budget impasse than discretionary programs. Title 4A remains a contingency source, but given its documented pause in over 30 North Carolina districts in 2025, it can't be treated as reliable. The coalition funding architecture on slide 4 exists precisely because no single source should carry this line alone. The neurobiological screening battery costs are estimated to be about $18,500 in year one, dropping to about $5,500 in year two. These are clinician administered instruments such as the Connors rating scale, ADHD rating scale, and the child behavior checklist. These are the same tools that Pan and colleagues use in their 2026 JAMA Psychiatry Biotype validation. In this very volatile time for public education, NITAE draws on 3 primary sources. A deliberate design principle runs through all 3. None require dependency on federal discretionary grants. Source 1 is the state IDEA and Title 4A. IDEA Part B is a federal entitlement administered through the state and is the most stable recurring source for the specialist personnel line. Title 4A is more vulnerable. It was paused in 30 plus North Carolina districts in 2025, and given that the Leandro reversal was documented in April of 2026, which removed the judicial accountability for state education funding. State formula funds must be treated as contingency managed rather than guaranteed. Source 2 is private philanthropy. Foundations investing in trauma informed education, neurodevelopment equity, and school to prison pipeline interventions align with NITAE's theory of change. A state ranked last in education funding, with $500 million redirected to private vouchers, is exactly the documented inequity that motivates foundation investment. A year one outcomes data strengthens every subsequent application. Source 3 is the district mental health reallocation. Peterson and colleagues documented that adverse childhood experiences carry a $14.1 trillion annual in economic burden nationally. NITAE's financial case is built on the cost of inaction in North Carolina in 2026. That cost has never been more clearly documented or politically ignored. Given North Carolina's enrollment decline and stagnant budgets, this source is best positioned as a partial match funding within a coalition rather than the primary vehicle. For global implementation, Australia's safe and supported framework, Scotland's GIR FEC, and the UN's Reimagine Education Initiative all share MTS's behavioral response architecture. None has a neurobiological interpretive layer. The funding infrastructure exists internationally. NITAE provides a framework to use it. At slightly over 1.6 million across 8 schools, NITAE asks more of a single enrollment declining district than any district should absorb alone. Coalition funding isn't a contingency plan, it is the right architecture for this very volatile environment. 5 sources carry distinct budget functions. State, IDEA, and Title IV-A cover personnel. North Carolina-based foundations such as the Duke Endowment and Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust cover the biotape battery, professional development, and evaluation. Wake Med and UNC Health carry IRS 501c3 community benefit obligations, and they are a natural fit for the observation tools. Arnold Ventures and the Vera Institute invest in upstream prevention with justice system impact. NITE's school to prison pipeline argument is the direct bridge. University partners like Duke, UNC Chapel Hill's Frank Porter Graham Institute, NC State, Wake Forest, and NCCU convert the two most unspecified lines, evaluation and dashboard development, into research contributions. NCCU in particular brings equity credibility that no other triangle institution can replicate. Combined institutional endorsement signals validity before outcome data exists. Sustainable implementation requires honest accounting of where things can go wrong. On legal compliance, FERPA classifies all neurobiological screening data as educational records. Parental consent is required before any Tier 2 assessment. IDEA governs how the specialist role integrates with the existing IEP processes. Biotype identification informs formal evaluation but does not replace it. Where school-based clinicians are involved, HIPAA and FERPA overlap under 34 CFR Section 99.3, and compliance protocols must be established before launch. On governance, NITE requires superintendent sponsorship and board-level policy approval. New specialist roles must be negotiated within collective bargaining agreements. We must ensure that teacher workload neutrality is a firm requirement and that fidelity monitoring confirms that the boundary is maintained. 4 operational constraints require direct acknowledgement. Site selection, the target district's enrollment decline, and the risk of closure must be formally assessed before commitment. The dashboard is a custom capital item, not a standard SaaS feature, requiring explicit budget treatment. The secondary expansion remains phase 5, which is contingent on evidence of K5 outcomes. K5 data must be built before expansion can be justified to anyone. The biggest challenge I found in generating this budget and fundraising plan is that it doesn't seem to be a priority at either the state or federal level uh, for public education, which is really truly unfortunate. And here are some additional resources that I've added to encompass the overall project.